Looks like we are live. So, welcome to the first ever Mumbai Charcha. Mumbai Charcha is a series of conversations with prominent citizens of Mumbai, and we are starting this today on the occasion of Republic Day with our first guest, Sanjay G. Ubale. Hello, Sanjay.
Yeah, hi. Sanjay Ji almost sounds very formal, so you can call me Sanjay in our discussion. Okay, but Sanjay Ji actually G is my father's
Yes,
Ganesh
I
is my
was saying
father's name.
yes.
Yeah,
You leave it as an initial, yes. But I also thought as a bureaucrat, Sanjay G would be something, but Sanjay,
call me
glad to.
Sanjay. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Great. So, Sanjay, I'm just going to begin with just talking a little bit about Mumbai Charcha and the organizations, then introduce you, and then we'll go ahead and have this chit chat, which I believe every Mumbai lover must be tuned into. I think today's conversation is for every Mumbai lover, and we're all here for the city. So, Mumbai Charcha comes as a joint initiative. It is initiated by Mumbai First and Blue Ribbon Movement. Mumbai First is an advocacy initiative. It's striving to make the city a better place to work, to invest, and to live in. And it does this by looking at problems and opportunities through partnerships with the government, the business, and the civil society. Mumbai First is partnered with Blue Ribbon Movement, an organization I founded, works with young people building leadership through civic engagement and community building. So this is a partnership which has been quite a journey to be partnering with Mumbai First and a very enriching one at that. So excited about partnerships in general. And yeah, these charchas are meant to be in a run up to the MCGM elections. As we come closer to the elections, how do we get citizens excited, energized, and truly bring out the love for Mumbai? So today's guest, who
But
will,
Abhishek, just one
yeah,
second. I think we had told everybody that and that this conversation is going to start at 7 o'clock. And still not seven. You want to wait for everybody to join in till 7 o'clock and then start, or you think that we can proceed now? We still have 4 minutes.
yeah, we can. I think we can proceed now. We thought we'll start early and manage the time in that way. Use a little bit of your extra time if we could. I'm
Sure.
gonna go ahead with that. So I think, I'm guessing we are good with that. Just want to check with our team if that is fine. We can hop right in.
Yeah, but maybe you can in the next 3 minutes or so you can tell me a little bit more about what Mumbai Chacha does. What are the various events that you run in the past,
Sounds good, Sanjay. Let me do
and who
that.
are the guests who are going to come in for this Mumbai Chacha in the future?
Yes, let me share that, Sanjay. So, I mean, there's a lot of activity happening around the election. The civil society is starting to buzz. And this time it's happened a little earlier because the dates of elections are moving. So we are already on the scene and things are happening. Mumbai Charcha, we're looking at leaders from every segment of the society. So really looking at leaders from art, from philanthropy, from the film industry, and so on, from architecture. And we're reaching out to various people. They're still writing in with their confirmations, but each person a leader of their domain, bringing in a unique perspective wherever they are located. um, Alongside that, a lot of young people are doing some innovative work which I have to tell you about. So at Blue Ribbon we've come up with a game called Amchi Mumbai. We normally don't talk so much about the city on dinner tables and with families and friends. So Amchi Mumbai is like this fun game which tests your connection to the city. We're doing a citizen audit in a particular ward as well, coming out with a manifesto. So whole set of activities that are on in this run up. And yeah, Mumbai Charcha, just Mumbai ke lovers के बीच में बातचीत और क्या चाहिए? If people love the city and talk from their heart, we believe whatever is best for the city will happen. So yeah, so it's a chit chat with Mumbaikars like you and real Mumbai lovers like you.
Yeah, and also I think there are lots of places that lots of personalities that have been connected with Mumbai, and you can actually go into the nook and crannies of the city and then explore that. So Mumbai has so much to explore and so much hidden that you can actually unravel that and then get Mumbaikars to actually see what Mumbai is. A lot of people actually don't have that connect with Mumbai. They still think that it's just a city which has the buses and the trains and others, but there's a lot of soul which I think a lot of people don't know how to connect with. And once they connect with the soul, then you'll find that they become completely different individuals.
Definitely the spirit of Mumbai. And for me, I've been born, brought up in Mumbai and pretty much lived Mumbai except for my studies in Bangalore for a couple of years. And I've traveled all around. Love for the city never dies for me. So I'm like a hardcore Mumbaikar. at heart. So it's also to be a son of the city and
a die hard Mumbaikar, right?
yes, and to defend the city in every city comparison debate, each time somebody comes in and we get into the city comparison, Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, Mumbai.
Yeah.
Happy to bat for Team Mumbai with full josh. So
Yeah. No, that's absolutely. I think once anybody is a Mumbaikar, I think it will stoutly defend. Incidentally, I was walking on the street once, just about 15 days back, and I met two guys from Delhi, and I have a favorite Singh wala, in the fort area. So I go to him to buy Singh, and he sells fantastic Singh. So these two guys were buying, and they said they asked me how is it. I said it's fantastic. It's my favorite place. So they bought it, and I asked them about so you're from Mumbai and you've been here for the last. They told me they were here for the last 1 year, and I said, what was your experience? Which is the better city? So they asked me first. I said, no, I like Delhi also, and I've lived in Delhi. He said, though we are from Delhi, we can tell you that Mumbai is a better place. And these are two guys.
Quite an acknowledgement. Yeah. True. Yes, and Delhi friends have loved the street food of Mumbai also. They're like, we only have momos. You guys have a lot more street food going. So many beautiful things that we'll discover with you. So we are at 7. We're on the clock, and I'm guessing we can hop into this conversation with an introduction of yours. I can already, without reading the introduction, say you are a Mumbaikar and a Mumbai lover. From what you already shared, I think it's amazing that people like you live in the city, love the city. But Sanjay, for our audience here, was earlier the director of partnerships at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's India country office. He was also the managing director and chief executive officer of Tata Realty and Infrastructure. So there was the Samaj and the Bazaar. And he is an IAS officer who over the last 31 years has had so many positions, the secretary to the government for Mumbai's development, secretary to the chief minister, and so on. Apart from being an IAS officer, Sanjay is also an MBA from GBIMS and has a master's in development study from the University of Bath in UK and from the Harvard Business School as well. So governance, infrastructure, rural and urban development, water, sanitation, community-based development, and even culture, if I know your LinkedIn profile, are all interests. So really happy, Sanjay, to start our Republic Day and our Mumbai Charcha with someone as diverse, as interesting as you. And so welcome.
Thank you, Abhishek.
So Sanjay, let me get right down to the first question because I could already see your love for Mumbai. So I was curious about your connection to the city. What makes you the Mumbaikar that you are, and you've seen this city from so many angles, right? And I'm very curious to hear your connection to the city.
Right. Okay. So I was born here in Mumbai. Okay. So that's Warren Buffett once said that this is called the ovarian lottery, and he talks about that in his own context. And the reason why he thought that he was successful is because of the ovarian lottery, that he was born in the US at the time when US was actually prospering, and he was born in a household which was reasonably well off. So his chances of success were significantly higher as compared to someone else who probably was born, say, in sub-Saharan Africa, for example. So I was fortunate actually to having born here in Mumbai, and a lot of whatever I was able to be and do was to a large extent because I was born here in Mumbai. But more than me, and this is a story which I've actually not talked about much, but I would certainly like to share that today with you, is that for a long time I didn't really have a great, just like everybody else, I also felt Mumbai is just the trains and the buses and the crowds and everything, but nothing beyond that. But when I became the secretary for Mumbai's development, Shadab Dwivedi, who's an eminent citizen here in Mumbai, a big activist as far as Mumbai's causes are concerned, but she was also a historian for Mumbai. And she introduced me to the history of Mumbai. And Mumbai is not just a city where people live, but actually where people aspire, where people actually make something out of their lives. And the entire history then when I saw about Mumbai, I was really truly inspired. But that actually gave me a connect of Mumbai, which was like nothing else in the past. And I'll tell you what that connect was. So my father was actually not born here in Mumbai. And like millions of people who come to Mumbai, starry eyes, looking to become something in life. So my father also was like that. Born in a lower middle class family in the rural areas of Nasik. They migrated. The family migrated when he was 18. He came and joined Siddharth College, and he studied there, and he worked on a part-time basis in several places. In fact, peculiarly, one of the jobs that he did on a part-time basis was that of a khabri. You know what a khabri is? Khabri is somebody, if there's something that is illegal going on the street, and then suddenly there's a cop raid that happened. The khabri actually tells that the cops are coming, right? So that was for a short while he did that job also.
Okay.
And then he subsequently joined the police force, and he retired as the additional director general of police here in Maharashtra. So you can just imagine how his life changed after he came to Mumbai, and not just his own life, but as a result of which our life changed and our generations actually got changed. So this connect of Mumbai, where people come from all over the country, come here with dreams in their eyes, want to get somewhere. They have the will to work, the desire to work, and they actually get somewhere. And this is the story of success as far as my father is concerned. And I'm just probably enjoying the fruits of that success. But it's not just my father, but it's also Mumbai. A combination of that actually has been the result of why I'm here today talking to you. Is also not just because of my father, but also the fact that he actually moved to Mumbai from the rural areas of Nasik. So that is the connect, the emotional connect that I have with Mumbai. I have a lot to. My father had a lot to. Has Mumbai meant a lot to him. It means a lot to me as well.
Lovely. So it's really nice to see, Sanjay, you acknowledging your roots and privilege and building on that. When I look at your whole career, you seem to be quite an explorer at heart. I mean, you've been successful many times over in many different contexts. One would probably take one context, just be successful and live out an entire career, but you've really chosen to go all around. And I'm curious about this explorer side of you, and how does that relate to Mumbai? How does Mumbai look like from the government side, from the foundation side? Just curious about what does that do. It's so rare to find somebody who's Samaj, Sarkar, and Bazaar. We keep talking about it. I'm talking to someone who's been all these three places. So from your vantage view, just curious about how do you look at the city? What do you see its gifts, possibilities? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think along with successes, I've had plenty of failures, and obviously one doesn't talk about those failures. So it's not just successes. I mean, there have been plenty of failures, and I personally believe that it's only on those failures that you can actually build some successes as well. So while you have one success, you probably might have had 10 failures. So, and we don't usually talk about it, but I would certainly expect somebody like you to run a series about what are the kind of failures that some people have had, and so that people know that successes are not always there. They're part and parcel also of failure. So, but I think the reason why I moved from, and I must acknowledge that the civil service gave me a lot in terms of satisfaction, in terms of opportunities to work, including for Mumbai. I mean, anybody who's appearing for the civil services trying career. But I felt that I needed to do something different, explore another side, which is why I moved into the business side. And the reason why I actually moved there was that I was seeing that the transition in India was happening. We're moving. We're also becoming much more of a market-based economy. The government was reducing a lot of its controls on the economic activity. So the markets were actually taking a pretty significant space. And I thought that rather than me becoming a pure regulator of this, it might be a good idea to explore how the market looks like from the other side. And that's the reason why I moved there. That's one part. And the second part was that unlike what I used to think earlier, that the businesses are essentially, for want of any other words, I would say that basically chore, the thieves. So that's how the thinking that we have. But I realized that businesses themselves if done well and done with the right spirit, and there are lots of people in India who do it with the right spirit. They don't take the money away, they don't pilfer money from the businesses. But if it's done well, it actually can become a transformational tool. And I wanted to explore that aspect of it. And I realized that for cities like Mumbai, or even for a country like India, unless we're able to unleash these economic forces, get people to contribute to the city, state, and the national economies, I think we will not prosper as a country. And there's a lot that one can do within the government to open up that sector and get the private sector also move forward very significantly. So I went down to explore that. I thoroughly enjoyed working for more than 10 years out there. Fortunately, I was with the Tata Group, which is, of course, as you know, that's one of the most respected groups in the country, and I thoroughly enjoyed. And then I moved on to philanthropy because I thought that having explored both this, how do we actually work completely at the cutting edge level to see that that we are able to make a difference on the ground. So that is how it was, and there were a lot of lessons that I was able to learn in the process, and I thoroughly enjoyed this entire process for almost 30 years. But that's been the phase of exploration for me.
Yeah, it sounds like a fascinating journey, Sanjay. So I was curious. One of the complaints that I've heard and also I've felt in some ways is that Mumbai pays like a big share of taxes, and we pay those taxes, and does anything come back to us? And I've been confused about it because yes, we do, but then we are a part of India and enjoy the benefits. At the same time, is it okay as a Mumbaikar to feel upset about it? So curious about how do you look at Mumbai's claim to be like the largest taxpayer and then feeling like ignored vis-a-vis some other cities? Just curious what would your take be?
So, the last numbers that at least I remember was that, Mumbai has a population of 2% of the state population and contributes about 21% of the state GDP. So Mumbai has a pretty strong weightage as far as the economic contribution is concerned to the state, and also makes a huge contribution to the national economy. But I think the fact is that Mumbai, I would say Mumbai Dharma is actually to create wealth. I mean,
Wow.
Mumbai was actually an economic entity. Before it became a city, it was an economic entity. And if you look at the history, which is what Shagad Viveri pointed out to, first was a port, establishment of a port. Then we had all these islands, 7 islands getting reconnected. That was also an infrastructure development. Then the city getting connected with the rail line way back in 1853, where now what we have as Wellington News. From there was a train line that was opened up to Thane to transport the cotton from the interior parts of Maharashtra into the coast, into the city, and then from there to the port. And from there, then the textile mills came up. A lot of people from the rural parts of Maharashtra came in and worked in the textile mills. So a lot of people from all over the country came here in shipbuilding, in trade, commerce. So if you see Mumbai's growth has been a result of its financial success. So that's one part. So therefore, I think we have to remember that Mumbai's first dharma is actually to create wealth, because that is the basis on which Mumbai evolved. That's what attracted people here. That's what they contributed to the city. The city contributed to their prosperity, and that's what has happened. So Mumbai should not complain about it. Mumbaikars should not complain about it, because they were lucky to be here in this city, and they were able to prosper. And if they were able to prosper, there's nothing wrong in contributing taxes. Now, the issue that you might talk about is that the contribution to taxes is fine, but are we investing enough as far as the city is concerned? So there is infrastructure that needs to be done. There are so many other things that need to be done. So I don't think any Mumbaikar would complain about the taxes that they're paying, because they realize that Mumbai actually helps them in their prosperity, and therefore there's nothing wrong in they paying the taxes. They might say that, can part of that money be invested here in Mumbai to make lives a little better? And on that, I agree. I think that's a pretty rational ask. Unfortunately, what happened is that for several years there was hardly any investment that happened in Mumbai. But for the last 20 years, there's a significant amount of investment that has happened in Mumbai. Now, if you look at the the airport. Now, again, this is the state, the BMC, and the central government all coming together to create this infrastructure. So if you look at the airport, if you look at the Trans Harbour Link, which is currently going on, there's a metro, there's a monorail, there's the sewage disposal project. So if you look at the amount of money that got invested, the Mumbai Urban Transport Project, which increased the number of train lines on the suburban rail systems. So the new airport that is coming up now in Navi Mumbai. So there is a plethora of investments. Now you have you have the coastal road, which is coming up. So there is a huge money that is now being pumped into Mumbai to improve its infrastructure. And that is logical, it's necessary to be done, mainly because, Jane Jacobs, one of the famous economists, had said that cities are the wealth of nations. That the nations don't become wealthy because of nations per se, but because the cities in those countries. So if you have more number of cities, if you have more urban population, the countries tend to prosper a lot more. That is what her thesis was. And which is what cities like Mumbai do. But after some time, the economic success of those cities can itself start becoming or starts, in a way, eroding those cities, because then you have a large number of people coming in here, there's no infrastructure development, and the cities start crumbling. And that's when the city's efficiency starts getting eroded and people move out. It's happened to cities like Detroit in the US, several other cities actually decayed. So in order for the cities to continue its dharma as something which continues with the prosperity for the people, not only in the city, but also for the state and the country, you need to invest in it so that the cities remain efficient and it continues to perform its dharma. So I agree with you that, there's nothing wrong in contributing to the taxes, but part of that money should get invested in Mumbai in order to see that this machine keeps on running efficiently and keeps on performing its dharma.
Lovely. Mumbai Dharma is the first time I've heard those two words. I've heard Swadharm, Yug Dharm, Mumbai Dharma, and such a powerful thing. So I want to go a little deeper into it from the angle of a citizen, right? So you said Mumbai Dharma is to create wealth. And maybe what is Mumbaikar Dharma? What is it to be a Mumbaikar and to be a citizen of this city and really make this city work and a lot already happens. It's a very beautiful city. People are amazing. So curious about what's Mumbaikar Dharma. What would
you? That's an interesting question. In fact, whatever I'm saying it's not that, Mumbai got shaped by the citizens. Otherwise, who else guides the city's spirit? It's the citizens which guide the spirits of the city. We were fortunate in actually having some citizens who did that as far as the city is. They shaped the city's thinking, the free thinking, the secular nature of this city, the way the city should move forward. I think we are fortunate having some really good citizens who I can just name a few just for context. We just this month itself we lost Jerson Dikuna, for example. I mean, a great Mumbaikar, a diehard Mumbaikar like you and me. We have had Charles Correa in the past. I mentioned about Sharda Dwivedi, the prominent historian. We have Abha Narayan Lamba, who's trying to preserve the heritage in the city. Earlier on, it was Runal Gore, which trying to move forward and doing something about Nagri Nivara Parishad. On environment, we had Teddy Goenka, who contributed a lot in terms of preserving the environment of Mumbai. So there are people who have tried to shape Mumbai, and therefore what you see today is the result of a lot of these movements that happened. A lot of the people who asserted at different points. I must also mention a couple of others like D.M. Subtankar, who was also one of the municipal commissioners in the past, Mr. Julio Ribeiro, who was a police commissioner, but they're also active citizens of Mumbai.
Yes.
And they're the ones who are still, raising their voices whenever they feel that something is wrong. And they are the people that they've kind of kept Mumbai on track. And that is a role that the citizens can you can't take the city for granted. Because, if at all you don't have an active role in the city's management, not in terms of actually being on the committees or on the, but just a voice. Unless you have that, you will probably not be able to shape the cities. And they have an important role to play, very important role to play, to my mind. The governments will, of course, try to shape the cities in their own way. but the citizens are the ones who guide the governments as to what needs to be done. So I think that is the prominent role that the citizens should be playing.
True, having a citizen voice and engaging with the government constantly.
Exactly.
If you as a concerned Mumbaikar want to play this role, Mumbai First is always there. You can reach out to their email ID with any concerns, ideas, suggestions, and they've said that they'll take these issues on behalf of citizens, work closely with governments, corporate, and civil society. And since I'm anyways plugging in, I must acknowledge Mumbai Live, which is Mumbai's favorite channel, I would say now more and more. It comes in Hindi, Marathi, and English, and really brings the Zyka of Mumbai to its viewers. And very kindly, they have agreed to also share this with their viewers. So thank you, Mumbai Live. And finally, yeah, young people, Blue Ribbon Movement. If you want to support young people, Blue Ribbon Movement is fundraising. It's looking at innovating, and details will be in the link. So please do support this work in as many ways as you can. So after that plugin, Sanjay, just coming back to you and just curious about the culture builder title in your LinkedIn profile as well. And also Mumbai's culture is very known. People call it a fast city, an indifferent city, an impersonal city. So just curious about how do you look at our culture and really what are the strengths of the city? How do we leverage the culture of the city to make this better?
Yeah, so I think Mumbai has a pretty unique culture. It allows you to be, allows you to be. I mean, it's not that people will come in and poke their nose into what you're doing, why you're doing this. They allow you your space, and that's the first thing that Mumbai does. And that's a culture which got developed. It allows you to be yourself. That's one part. The other part is that I think there's a fair bit of discipline that the cities that Mumbai have and the citizens of Mumbai have. And this, a lot of people say that there's a difference between Delhi and Mumbai. I'm not very sure of that anymore because I think we are probably losing some of that discipline now. The civic consciousness, for example, So even if say you're at Nariman Point and you're waiting for there are those black and yellow cabs which take you to the stations, So even there you will find a line, which is a pretty systematic line.
Yes.
That people will not jump onto the queue, people will not crowd and will not haggle with each other, but they will stand in the line patiently and get it. And somebody breaks the line, somebody at the back will say the line mein aa jao, So it's the discipline that the citizens of Mumbai have imposed on themselves and in a way try to impose on the others. So that the second part is discipline. One is the third, the culture of inclusion. The inclusion is that wherever you're from, I mean, like the two friends that I mentioned to you about, from Delhi. And one of the things that they said that Mumbai is a very friendly city, that they know that I'm from Delhi, but they're very friendly with us, So we didn't feel that we had come to a different place, So very inclusive in that sense.
Definitely.
Then in terms of opportunities, very secular in its opportunities, So anybody who has the potential can actually make it work. And we've had so many examples of those who made it successful. My father is one example of that, but there are so many examples that Mumbai offers, where people have come in here and become successful. It gives you opportunities. It gives you opportunities to be something. So that's the other part of the culture. And I think the biggest to my mind is that it has a certain amount of grace. It has a certain amount of grace. We saw that on the 26th of July, 2005, when we almost thought that Mumbai is virtually getting, is getting submerged. And we saw what Mumbai was. Nobody pilfered anything. People came out from their homes. They helped people who were in distress. That's magnanimity of this city.
Definitely.
People didn't take advantage of those conditions in terms of robbing people or in terms of plundering shops. That is the magnanimity of the city. So that is a culture that got built over a period of time. Nobody can really try and do it. It just got created by the people themselves. And that's what we identify ourselves. That's what we are beneficiaries of today.
Yes, definitely.
And that culture needs to be preserved, which is a fantastic culture to be in.
Definitely. I'll just add one more ingredient, which I feel is kind of connected to grace, which is humility. And
Yes.
that you could be standing in the line and next to you maybe a very rich stockbroker, or next to you maybe somebody who's very humble beginning, but everybody's in that same line. And even the prosperous of the city who I have encountered, I've seen them live very simply, and not flamboyantly necessarily also at so many places. So think humility also, I would add.
Exactly. In fact, this is what we also used to discuss when I was secretary for Mumbai's development. And we were talking about infrastructure development. And what came out very strongly was that a rich city is not the one where people travel in big cars. The rich city is one where rich also travel in public mode of transport. Okay.
Right.
So that is what the thinking was, that it's not a privilege in the sense that you corner a large part of the space, but also become part of the common population, and which is what you see in several places like London.
Sure.
On the McDonald's line, you'll find the janitor also and standing in line, managing director also standing in line to buy a burger. So that is what prosperity actually means. It doesn't mean that you become an exclusive set of people, but actually become a lot more closer and understand what life is all about on the ground.
Definitely. And the stretch on Marine Drive, for example, when you walk, has all walks of life, people sitting and looking at the sunset, and
Yes.
such a beautiful thing.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
Sanjay, I'm going to get into some personal questions now, coffee with Karan style, and you can totally pass them also if you would like, but it'll be fun if you answer some of these questions. So does that sound fine? Is that something you feel ready for?
Okay.
Does that sound fine, Sanjay? Can we get
Yes,
it?
yes. I think I lost you in the middle,
So I
but
was
yes,
just
I'm
gonna
fine.
ask personal
I'm
question.
fine.
Yeah,
I'm
you can
fine with
pass.
that.
So what is your favorite adda in Mumbai? Where do you hang out, and where can you tell us a few of your secret places in Mumbai where which are worth discovering? So take us through.
Yeah. So in fact, I keep telling my wife that I like these small quaint places. So for example, for my tea and brun muska, I like the Cafe Yazdani, which is very close to Akbar Ali's. It's an Irani place, and again, I think that these are the heritage places. And the heritage is not just about the tea and the brun muska, but it's about the person, the Irani person who's sitting out there and speaking loudly and sometimes giving galis to his person. That's a part of the heritage, So I
Right.
love going there and having brun muska and tea out there. So that's Cafe Yazani, which anytime to have tea, and that's where I like to go. Then I like Delhi Darbar. I like Bade Mia's, and I like to go there. So those are my favorite go-to places. And there are even Kayani's near Metro. That's another place that I really love. So I like to go to Olympia once in a while. Uh, these are some of my favorite places. But all my favorite places actually are the ones which are really these small, quaint places, which, and given a choice, I would much rather eat in these places rather than go to a five-star hotel.
Lovely. And our city is lined up with them. So thank God for that.
Thank God for that. I mean, they are such amazing places. Absolutely.
So let me pull a question from our game, Amchi Mumbai. The question is, any moment where you felt proud of being a Mumbaikar, where you realized that you belong to the city and you felt proud that you are from this city in your life? Any moment that comes to your mind?
So I mentioned that just now to you in 2005 when this happened. In Mumbai and in deep distress, and the way Mumbaikars showed up, I mean, that was just amazing. I mean, there's no other word for it. And this is not just people who had something; it's people who had nothing. They showed up like that. So I feel really proud of that. I also feel that today, even at 2 o'clock, my daughter has to come back home. From she's a veterinary doctor, and she comes back. Sometimes if she comes back late, I'm not worried. There's a confidence that you have in the city, that the city is safe, and there's something that keeps you protected. It keeps the women, the girls, and the people here protected. So that is what I think. I really feel proud of this city, and my biggest one is that in the 2005, I think the people who had absolutely nothing, the way they showed up, I think is just simply amazing.
Okay, how about this one? When you were younger in school or college, what was one of your favorite time pass or things to do in this city? Was it, yeah?
So that was walking on Marine Drive, so that was our favorite time pass. And we used to go there every evening, a bunch of friends, because we used to stay close to that. Because my father was working in the government, so he was staying among the government accommodations, and Marine Drive was not very far for us. So we used to go there in the evening, and then we used to also go to again. There used to be an Irani place in the evening, go and have some tea out there, and then go for a walk, and then talk about what we're going to do in the future, all of that. So all our dreams actually happened at that time on Marine Drive. So that used to be our favorite place to go, and that still remains a favorite even today.
Lovely. How about completing this one, Sanjay? Mumbai won't be Mumbai without, like without dash, Mumbai won't be Mumbai without.
I can tell so many. I mean, if at all, if there's a broad word that I can use, I think Mumbai won't be Mumbai without the spirit of Mumbai. So, but I think if at all, I have the inclusivity. I think if at all, we start becoming very compartmentalized, we start becoming very exclusive, that we don't want these people, we don't want that people, Mumbai spirit will be gone. I think if that happens, Mumbai won't be Mumbai. And that I think is vital to my mind. I think the spirit of accepting, the spirit of getting everybody in, protecting them, helping them prosper. I think that is, to my mind, the core of Mumbai. Mumbai won't be Mumbai without that. Yeah, but there's one thing which I did feel a little bit, when Mumbai actually lost being a little of Mumbai, was when the Samovar Cafe closed down. So I don't know if you know of a Samovar Cafe.
Much younger.
It was very close to, yeah. It was near the Jahangir Art Gallery, inside the Jahangir Art Gallery, and that used to be another of our favorite addas. To go there and meet. And there are lots of these today's film stars and some of the people who are in the art and culture and all that. They used to come there, and that is gone because of, for whatever reason. And as a small thing, I think Mumbai died a little bit with Samovar because, and therefore it's all the more important that these small places where Mumbai lives, I think need to continue, and that's what is. And these small things actually make the spirit of Mumbai and what Mumbai is. So and then people actually prosper, people come together, people become Mumbaikars in a sense in these places. So I think preserving these places, I think, is also important. There's several such places which need to be preserved.
Lovely. Yes, the small things make the big city and make it
exactly.
Okay, let me ask you one last one, and then we can maybe go on to the immediate topic of looking at what citizens can do for the upcoming elections. My last question is, if a genie appears out of a magic lamp and says, Sanjay, make a wish for the city, what wish would you make and why?
Well, I think there are only one wish, right? So because I would have
probably three if you want, but I thought one will make it more intense and dramatic, no?
Right.
I'll give you that.
So
choice.
Yeah. So I think if there is one thing that that comes to my mind is that on the eastern part of Mumbai has somehow remained underdeveloped. That is the port area, and a lot of the port activity has now moved to Nhava Sheva and some other places. And we have almost about 1,800 acres of land. For the last several years, it remains to be developed. And both the central and the state governments are aware what needs to be done. I think, again, for Mumbai to perform its dharma as the states and the national economic engine, I think we need to open this up and create a fantastic economic growth model out there. So if that is one thing which, if I have one wish, I would probably do that, because it's going to have several other impacts. One is it's going to help in cities, offering more jobs than what it is, because today we seem to be having lesser jobs here in Mumbai, and particularly for the youth, we need to create more jobs. And again, for the city to continue to perform its dharma, as I say. So that's one part. The second part is that the eastern side will actually open up the city. So far, most of the development has happened on the western side. So this will be the new development, and the city will get opened up that side, and we will become a lot more connected with the mainland. There's a Trans-Harbour link coming up. So this will act as a huge growth engine for the city of Mumbai. There's one wish also I had. I mean, this was Subwish, you can say that. So that, there's also a Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj statue which is coming up on the western side, and which I thought would have been a good idea to put it on the eastern side, because anybody who comes into Mumbai, like the gateway of India is on the eastern side, that was a gateway not only to Mumbai but gateway to India, right? And to have the magnificent statue out there, to rather than having it on the western side, having it on the eastern side would have been great, because it would have been a great tourist attraction. All the aircraft landing actually land from the eastern side.
Sure.
All the ships landing from the eastern side. The Trans Harbour Link now is opening up the land from the eastern side. So that would have been something that would have been a great attraction. So that would have been a Subwish as a part of the development of the eastern seaboard.
Sure.
I would have liked that also as a Subwish. But anyway, I think the plans have already moved forward significantly. I don't think we can really turn that back just now.
It's so interesting that you kind of throw light on this whole part of Mumbai that needs development. That was quite an interesting and unexpected wish. So nice to hear that. So Sanjay, let's come to the upcoming elections of MCGM, and what role do you think citizens, and also because you are a collaborator, what role, how can the sort of civil society, the government, and the corporates also collaborate? Like, what stops more collaboration from happening? And particularly in light of what's coming up, where in the end we are all citizens. So what is it that you would say are expectations from citizens that you would hold, your fellow citizens?
Sure. Yeah, including my own responsibility. So, yes, I would say that first of all, the corporates also have to take a responsibility. I feel that there's probably a little bit of, I think there's desire to do it, but for some reason, I think we've not been able to get the corporates engaged. And as I said, that if Mumbai Dharma is to create wealth, the biggest beneficiaries of that would be the corporates, right? So they also need to, just like we expect the government to put in money for infrastructure development, I think they also need to contribute to the city's improvements in whatever way they can. So that is one part, and I think and most of the corporates have funds through the CSR, then they should be able to contribute to the city's beautification, cities, developing small nook and crannies, and then you'll find that city is improving. As I said, that the small thing that makes a city. So I think we could probably do that. The corporates have a big role to play. As far as the citizens are concerned, I think one, of course, is that going out there and voting. I think it's extremely important. That's a responsibility that they must take. Otherwise, if you get the city that you don't ask for, then you should not be cribbing about it. So that if you ask for it, then you should go and vote. So that's an important thing that citizens should be doing. But there are lots of things that they can also think of doing. For example, engaging on platforms and expressing what they feel the city needs to do, and getting the attention of the policymakers, the governments, to see that this is what they expect. Because keeping silent, suffering in silence is really not there's no reason for anybody to remain silent. So it's not just the youth. I would say even the elderly population, the middle, the working group, the women. So whatever they feel, I think they should create platforms. Mumbai First is one such platform that we have tried to create, wherein people get to plug into the platform and say, what is it that we feel that should change in Mumbai? What is it that needs to improve? Just to give a couple of examples, there are, for example, suddenly in the middle of the night, particularly during the pandemic, you have these motorcycles coming up with very loud noises, and you suddenly wake up in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, because somebody wants to make a big show of their motorcycles with their noise. So if somebody says that, I think we need to put some restrictions on that to see that at night we're able to sleep peacefully. I'm just giving small examples of how people can engage. The second example of that is that, like you see a number of BST bus stops. I find that, and this is where I feel that a certain amount of discipline is actually vanishing in Mumbai, is that a lot of the cars actually come and get parked at the bus stops. Now just imagine there's some rich guy who's trying to, usurp the space of the common person who's trying to get into a bus, right? Yeah. So putting that out and saying that, can you stop people from using that space which is meant for common persons trying to get into a bus? So these are things, small things I think we can start, becoming a lot more active. We can put it across the government and government can act on it. But as I said, that engaging in these civic elections, I think is extremely important. Making yourself heard is very important. Create your own platforms, plug into some other platform, and let your family's views known. What is it that you want? Because the city will get shaped by your voice.
Yeah.
And unless you put it out as to what is it that you want, even the governments would not know what they should be doing. So it's and let me tell you, having been in the government for 20 plus years, the government listens, and because they also are dependent on people's votes, right? And you'll be surprised how sensitive the government is to the people's voice. So having seen that, I can say that that your voices will certainly not go unheard. Please do make yourself heard.
Definitely. That's also, Sanjay, been our experience as we work with young people. This campaign is called City of Hope. And the hope comes from our engagement with the government, which is actually quite responsive. And rather than being cynical, we say that our indifference is the problem.
Yes,
when we engage with the government, we see responses, and the city actually shifts. Things do change.
Yes.
So, Sanjay,
and that's been the history of the city. And I said the city has been shaped by the citizens. And not this is not a government-run city. It's citizens who run it. The citizens have brought it to this level, and don't underestimate the power of the citizens to change things.
That's lovely. That's a lovely, inspiring message. Any other cities which inspire you, Sanjay, and why, if any other cities inspire you, and what is it that we can learn from them?
So I think I'm frankly I'm a little too partial towards Mumbai, and I get inspired by Mumbai. But if at all you were to ask me about one other city which probably try to make that was, I think, Bangalore, and we also tried to learn. But I think that movement has somehow got a little fizzled out. But we also got inspired by that movement, where there's something called the Bangalore Agenda Task Force that got created, where citizens got engaged with the governments and tried to create something different. And we actually got inspired by that. We went to Bangalore, tried to learn from them. So that was one example. But unfortunately, that movement, I think, has has got, the intensity has got a little lower. I think we in Mumbai also, I think our intensity has got a little lower. We need to get back that intensity in Mumbai as well.
And hopefully with talks like these and inspiring people like you, that will happen, Sanjay.
So I think, I don't know, but I get inspired by people. So, so it's not, I'm not really expecting people to get inspired by my talk. I get inspired by people. You'll see a lot of people, making a difference. And that's what inspires me. And each of us, I think, will get inspired and inspire others.
Yeah, there's lots of inspiring people all around the city.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts, Sanjay, before we close? Any things that you would like to share with our listeners and Mumbaikars? Anything that any final last word that you'd like to put in?
Yeah, not the last words. I mean, this just, I think we'll just keep on having these conversations, because we'll keep on, as you said, this is a charcha, right? So there's no last word in a charcha.
Yes, absolutely. So for now, what is the word?
Yes. So I think, there is, while in the last 20 years, I think the governments and the citizens have come together and did a lot, right? And when you actually list that thing down, you realize that a lot has happened. But I think going forward, there's a lot that needs to happen, right? So, for example, like health, there's an enormous amount of work that needs to be done on creating primary and secondary healthcare. We still have decent tertiary healthcare. For example, once I was asking my maid, where did she go to, when she was sick, and she actually told me a place which was run by a quack. Now, we're talking about Mumbai, and I mean, this is not some rural area somewhere in far parts of India. We're talking about Mumbai. So it clearly means that we probably still don't really have, the health infrastructure. And the pandemic actually has highlighted this, that we need to have particularly primary and secondary healthcare, not only from the point of view of treatment, but from the point of view of prevention. Both. There are several diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, which are not necessarily communicable diseases, but which are lifestyle diseases. How do you prevent that? And for that, you need to have primary and secondary healthcare systems in place. So I think that is, I'm just giving this as an example. There's several areas. We talked about the Eastern Front. We talked about expansion of the metro rail system, expansion of the monorail system, the new airport that is coming up, quickly completing these infrastructure. There's so much that needs to be done. But the most important thing is to preserve this culture, steadfastly, jealously preserve the culture of Mumbai. Because we will, with all the infrastructure and everything, we'll get there. You know, I'm not really worried about it. But it's a culture that needs to be preserved, and that Mumbaikar just needs to be a Mumbaikar, continue to be a Mumbaikar, the way he's been in the past, and the way I think he can continue to be in the future in the same way. And we will get there. And we have come this far, and we'll get there.
Yes, being a Mumbaikar at heart. And I love what you said about Charcha, Sanjay, because I think our conversation itself can also spark so many Charchas. And we want the Charcha about Mumbai happening in every nook and corner, because we feel that conversation will generate for this city a lot of energy that'll power the city. So,
and these conversations shape, the cultures and the futures of the city. And so you'll be surprised how important these conversations are. And I'm actually grateful to you for creating this channel where you are creating these conversations amongst people and taking this forward. You're actually adding to the spirit of Mumbai, and all the best to you for that.
That's great to hear, Sanjay. Thank you so much. And just want to take that moment to also acknowledge the whole team here, which is making this possible. So you know who you are. Thank you for that. And to close, if you have ideas, send it to Mumbai First. If you have some resources, donate to BRM. And if you have some time, watch Mumbai Live. With that, thanks a lot, Sanjay.
And go and vote in the next election.
Yes, please go out and vote.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Sanjay. And
all right. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And thank you for your entire team for making a part of this discussion.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thanks a lot.
All the best. See you. Bye.